Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to this Think It workshop. We are going to be hearing from Bobby Hussain today from NatWest. So Bobby's a local enterprise manager down here in Birmingham, but he's going to take us through today understanding your customer. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and then allow Bobby to introduce himself. But for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Annabelle, the Senior Entrepreneurship Manager Officer here. If I could ask everyone to go on mute while we do the main workshop, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end. But yes, I'm Annabelle. I'm up in Birmingham here, Senior Entrepreneurship Manager Officer at GBS, and I'll send you all my contact details and everything. But without further ado, I'll let Bobby from NatWest introduce himself for today's workshop. Over to you, Bobby.
Thank you, Annabelle. Good afternoon, guys. Lovely to meet you all, and hopefully the first of many collaborations and meetings. So my name's Bobby Hussain. I work for NatWest. I'm the local enterprise manager, and I've been with the bank for the last 12 years. Yes, yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for all the chats, brilliant. So today, what I want to do is just spend a little bit of time just talking about the content that we have within our Business Builder program. So today it's all about sort of understanding your customer. Again, yeah, make it really interactive. I quite like things to be quite informal. No question going to be a silly question or a stupid question. If there's things that do come up, and I know at the end we got 10-15 minutes put to one side for any question that you may have. I'm just going to share my screen. I'm hoping that should be working. Annabelle, do you need to give me permission to share my screen?
I think you should be able to just share it. Is it coming up?
It's doing something. The meeting host will let you in. So it's just waiting, I think, your permission.
That might be David. Oh yeah, I can see something's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So that's fine. Perfect. So yeah, this again will last about half an hour as a meeting. At the end, there'll be a chance for questions, but if there is anything that pops up, by all means put it in the chat and we can discuss that as well. So yes, today's seminar workshop is going to be about understanding your customer. Just before we get into that, I just want to do a bit more of an intro about my job role, what it is I do. So as a local enterprise manager, what I do is I connect with the local ecosystem. So right now it's been quite testing times for SMEs and businesses. I'm just thinking, guys, can you hear me? Is that coming through? Yeah. Yes. So yeah, it's been quite testing times for SMEs, businesses. You look at the last sort of 5-6 years with Brexit, COVID-19, the cost of living crisis, and then recently as well, rising interest rates. It's a very difficult time, and it's very hard for a lot of businesses. So constant changing, constant evolving is needed. That's where this module, understanding your customer, comes in really, really handy. So today, the agenda is we'll talk about what is customer discovery. We will be talking about solving customer needs creatively, customer personas, and then customer validation techniques. And then right at the end, there'll be a chance for you to ask questions about any help or support or anything, or even thoughts about the module today. So what is customer discovery? So I'm going to just put it out to yourselves. What is customer discovery to yourselves? Any thoughts, any opinion that you may have, please put it in the chat. It'd be good to get your opinion about what you think customer discovery is. Why is it really important? Yeah. So Danny mentioned getting to know your customers. So again, yeah, really important, getting to know your customers, looking at different customer needs. How can we access different markets? And if the last couple of years has told us anything, it's to constantly evolve, constantly change, and think of different ways of, about your business strategy. There's different ways where we can help customers, different ways where we can. So customer needs and what they want. Precisely. So again, it's that connotation of understanding where you are as a business, who your target audience is, which part of the market are you looking to target. And a really important part of that is experimenting. That's why we've got this little child on the screen right now. So find ways to meet customer requests. Yes, you are correct with that as well. But I think it's also about experimenting. So we've got this little boy here. He's got on a lab coat. He's experimenting. He's trying different things, and I think that's what we need to do as a business. It's really important that we try different things. And as a child, if you look at the connotations, children are quite fearless. They're not afraid of getting things wrong or just trying to do things as they think is best. I think as adults, over a number of years through growing up, I think we get really afraid of failing. Now, whilst no one wants to fail, there's a lot to be learned from failure. So if you're going to fail fast, fail cheap. But I think experimenting is really, really important to that as well. And focus on the problem. Danny, it's a very good point you made there about the quality of the product as well. Historically, businesses, what they used to do was they would find a solution, so they'd have a great product, a great service, they'd fall in love with it, and they'd be like, this is amazing. And historically, that used to work. And then what they used to do on the back of that used to be, they would then look to use that product that they've created or that service to find a gap in the market or find an issue in the market that it can address. And then once they found that segment of the market, what they would then do is that would be their customer. So their customers they would find once they found the target audience. Now historically, now going forward, what we say is it needs to be the other way around. You need to find a target audience, so a target customer who's having an issue, having a problem, there's a need for it, and then you find the solution. And the reason for that is, the economy's changed, the market's changed, business has changed. Customers are not as loyal as they used to be. Everything a lot more difficult. And there's a lot more competition as well. Bring up some of the comments. So again, that's changed. So turn it around now. So much more customer centric. What are customers finding? What is their biggest problem? Then on the back of that, what is the solution? What can you do for them? This is where, if there's one thing today we're going to walk away with, for any budding SMEs, any budding entrepreneurs or businesses, people that have got an idea about their own business, a startup, something they're really passionate about, is fall in love with a problem and not the solution. So I'm going to put it out to yourselves now, guys. Why do you think it's really important to fall in love with a problem rather than a solution? Because if you do it this way, what are we not going to miss out on? So if you want to put something in the chat, by all means. If not, if you want to have a bit of reflective time and think about that yourself, again, that's something for you to have to think about. I'm just going to give you literally 30 seconds just to think about the importance of finding the problem rather than thinking of a solution and making that fit the problem. Okay. So the main thing is, when we fall in love with a solution, we think as a business, as an SME, as an entrepreneur, that solution is going to fit every problem going, or it's going to address the problem that we think are in place. But if you don't have that market research, if you do not engage with your customers, if you don't find out exactly what they require, then the chances are that it won't meet all of their customer needs. And the biggest problem we have right now is when customers don't change or evolve their business strategy to customer sort of needs and problems, someone else will. And that's where it's really important as a business that you need to change. You need to have that flexibility to evolve. I'm just going to have a look at some of the comments that are on there. So yeah, I think if you fall into deep with a problem in regards to a customer, yeah, I'd agree with that as well. And yeah, so the last point I think is exactly what I said. So without sorting the problem, you're not going to get a solution, and that problem is going to go on. So the desirability for your product or your service, it's not going to be there. Okay. So why is customer discovery important? What is the importance about customer discovery? Why is it really important to know who your target audience is, which people you want to be targeting, and ultimately, make them loyal ambassadors for your business, your SME, your startup, whatever that might be. So I'm just going to give you another 30 seconds. If you can think about the importance of customer discovery, if you want to put something in the chat, by all means, if you want to make a private note. Yeah. It's going to give you a bit of time just to have a look at that. Yeah, some really good points that have been made here now. So to adapt your product to our customer needs, their needs are important. It's seeking a potential demand in the market to figure out the customer needs. Yeah, precisely. Ultimately, if we're not going to be able to meet our customer needs, someone else is going to come and they're going to take over the market or take over your market share and ultimately render you redundant. So can anyone think of any examples where a company has not evolved with the times and they've been left behind, and either they've stopped trading and someone else has taken over? There's a couple of really famous examples that I'll mention to yourselves. Let's have a look at the chat. Yeah, so to develop an idea as a market is high and competition is too high. So yeah, I'll give you another 10 seconds, but think of any companies, any examples where you think they've not changed, then they've not evolved, customer needs have changed, but ultimately they've not moved with the times. And the first example that I want to be speaking about is Blockbuster. And again, this may be before some of your time, but I'll mention it anyway. I think it's a really good point. Blockbuster was really big in the 90s. So what people used to do was come on Friday night, they'd go into Blockbusters, and they would, they go through the whole cinema experience. They would look through all the aisles, they'd choose, Tanya mentioned that as well about Blockbuster. But yeah, they'd come in, they'd choose a video. It used to be times of VHS, so a video cassette, and they'd go home and they'd watch that. And at that time in the early noughties, Blockbuster was actually given the opportunity to buy Netflix. And at that point, Blockbuster refused. They couldn't see the future within Netflix. And also, one of the biggest income streams for Blockbuster then used to be late fees. And that late fees was, I think it made up about 25% of their income, so a substantial amount. But at that point, the internet was taking off, and I think Netflix now, if you think about it, I think it's the biggest, or if not one of the biggest online streaming companies in the world. And Blockbuster now, it closed its last store in 2017. So again, it just shows that if you don't change, you don't evolve, that's what can happen. And at that point in time, Blockbuster didn't move with the times. Yeah. And there's some really good points coming up now. BlackBerry, totally echo. Woolworths, I think we all have great memories about their sweets. And again, it's such a shame. But ultimately, a lot of the time, you don't have to do anything wrong for it to not work out. It just comes to a case of you've not been brave enough or fearless enough to try something different. Another really good example is Nokia. Now, growing up in my formative years, Nokia was huge. They used to have loads of feature phones. I grew up to the 3310, 62230i. I'm just throwing numbers at you now. But at that point, they were huge. And there was a really good interview not long ago. I think it's been a couple of years, where their CEO at the time said they've actually developed a smartphone but they didn't push the button. They didn't release that phone because they were thinking that their target audience wouldn't want a smartphone at that time. They thought there was no need for it. And then in 2007, a certain Mr. Steve Jobs pushed the iPhone and Apple got into the phone market. But the problem now is Nokia's tried since. I think it had a bit of a project with Windows, and I think it sold its name to another smaller company that does feature phones now. But it was too late. When they tried to get into it, they've lost that momentum. Apple got their feet under the table. Samsung's doing amazingly well as well. So there's big companies that have come into it, and Nokia, Nokia now are sort of confined to the history books, if that. And it's a shame. It is a shame. And I think the biggest point of that was, again, is that quote that I mentioned. The Nokia CEO said, "We didn't do anything wrong, but they just didn't invest in the future. They didn't think about things that were going to be coming up for the future." So again, it just shows the importance. And there's loads of them. There's loads of companies that have not evolved. And if you look at COVID-19 now, there's going to be a huge amount of companies that have closed since because they couldn't change their business strategy. They didn't understand what their customer needs were. And you sort of think, they probably had undying loyalty to the company, but customer discovery is all about constant change, evolving, modifying. Now, if you look at the top reasons for businesses failing, now I'm just going to mention the first one really, and that's no market need. That's 42%. That's a huge amount. And if you actually think about that, so as great as your product might be, and it might be the best thing since sliced bread, if there's not a need for it, it won't work. And this is also, again, it links into, is it the right time? There's been times that people have not pushed ahead because they're thinking it's not the right time. Maybe if it was 5 years before, 5 years later, it might make a difference. But again, there was no market need. And if you're thinking of that, ultimately you think, what is your market research? What have you done to think that this is going to have a place in the market? So it's really important to do your research, do your preparation, you see about other competitors. The other reason, again, so they all do make sense. So, run out of cash. So that comes down to your financial planning, your forecasting, not the right team, 23% there. So again, your teamwork, the people you work with, having the right people in the right place, that makes a huge difference. Is having those people that are going to want to be there, have that positive impact. And if you're going to be a new startup, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. And I think a lot of people don't understand how difficult it can be. Now at NatWest, on one of our programs, we have entrepreneurs coming in and they're working 50, 60, 70-hour weeks. So it is quite difficult. But ultimately, it's just a case of really understanding the market that you want to penetrate. Now, customer is king. We all heard the saying, cash is king, but the customer is king. So, the customer will make or break your business. The demand needs to be there. And you need to be able to understand exactly what their opinion is, what they require. And things change all the time. Technology changes, people's way of shopping changes, people's mindset changes, whether you're B2B, so business to business or business to consumer, any sort of model that you may have, it is really important to get that feedback from the customers. So again, now I'm just going to give you about 20, 30 seconds. If any of you are aspiring entrepreneurs, SMEs, and you've got an idea in your mind and you're thinking that you would like to proceed with that in the future at some point, what would you want to know about your customer? What questions would you ask? If you're going to be launching a company, what would you like to know to avoid being that 42% where there's not a demand for your products? Yeah, customer segmentation. It's a very good point there, Ahmed. How to raise funds to begin. Okay, Tanya, perfect. Yeah, supply and demand. So very good points being mentioned here. Just want to move on to the next slide, which is pivot. I'm just going to read the last comment, sorry, from Danny. customers are very important because they keep your business afloat and also their customers' rights. So you would act fairly. Yeah, again, so you have to abide by all the legal requirements. But again, ultimately, they're very important because they're the people that that will be buying from you. No, that's fine. So pivot, and this I find really interesting as well. Pivot. So pivot is a change in strategy without a change in vision. And one of the examples that I use a lot is, for example, let's say you're going to Blackpool for a weekend break and you're on the motorway. So you're on the motorway, you're going to Blackpool and there's a massive traffic delay. So your destination is still going to be Blackpool. The goal is still to get there, have a nice time, enjoy yourself for the weekend. But the customer journey, the way in which you're going to get there, what you would typically do then is you'd fire up your Google Maps, you'd fire on your sat nav, and you will look for a different way to achieve your destination. So pivot, a change in strategy without a change in vision. I'm just going to go back for a second. I'm just going to give a couple of really good examples about a company that's pivoted. Now, we've all heard about YouTube. It's probably the biggest online sort of streaming upload video business. Is huge, and it's made multiple millionaires for like content providers as well. But YouTube was initially a dating website. I don't know how many of you actually know that, but it was a dating website, which I found quite surprising as well. I was not aware of that. But what happened with YouTube was it was different to the other dating websites because it had a add video functionality. And it got to the point when they were assessing their financials and their sign-ups, and they could see that there wasn't a huge amount of people signing up. But what they did see was there was a huge amount of videos getting really popular. So people would upload videos that would get shared, and it just took off. So in one of their board meetings at YouTube, they had an option. Either they're going to say, we've tried the project, it's not really worked, the dating website's not taking off, let's scrap it, put it to one side, and we'll just consign it to history. Or two, we can pivot, we can change, and we can go and just see exactly what the video side of this will do. And that's what they did. And if you look at it now, I mean, YouTube, its turnover is in the billions. It's massive, and it's a global company. So it just shows how you can pivot and how you can change your strategy. Because sometimes things won't always work the way you want, and you can still make it work. You can still fit. Tanya, I'd agree. I'm a very big YouTube fan as well. So yeah. And again, this is a really good model. And what I would say is, whilst I can't send you the actual document today, you can take pictures, you can take screenshots, and again, it's all available to you online as well. This is really important, and we mentioned this in a lot of our webinars, a lot of our content at NatWest for the business builder. This is build, measure, learn, and I mean it's very sort of self-explanatory. And if you look at the first part, it's about build, so experiment. So again, that little picture about that little child where you're experimenting, you're trying something different, and not being afraid of failing. If you're going to fail, it's fine. You learn from your failures. Two, you look at the measurements. What are your metrics? What are the KPIs? How are you going to measure success? And then within that, learn. So is it going well? If it is, do you want to persevere, see where this takes you? If you think you want to tweak something, you want to pivot, you can pivot. And also in that, you can also say, well, we're going to stop. It doesn't mean that it's going to work. There's no harm in trying. But then within the measurements and the metrics, you look at the feedback loop. So within that, and again, I'm not going to get too into this because it does get quite complex. But yeah, you look at your baseline, you look at your analysis, you look at your hypothesis. That feedback is just a way to understand your metrics. What is that telling you? So again, for YouTube, when they were doing theirs, whilst their signups went great, their videos and the sharing posts were like, they were taking off. So that was their feedback loop. They looked at the feedback for the videos, and that's why they went down that route. Okay, so how are you going to implement this? So it's fine talking about customer discovery, and it's a hot topic right now throughout the industry. Everyone wants to know about understanding your customer and just making sure that we're part of that 58%, that their product, their services do have a place in the market. So understanding your customer, how do we implement this? Now, this slide, we use this as part of a different content within the Business Builder. Again, that's all available to you online. And I'm going to sort of look to mention this. And again, keep it quite straightforward. I'm worried that it's been 25 minutes or 20 minutes since I've started, but this is all about desirability. So this is your accountability for yourself. So if you look at this, on the left, there's 3 parts: key partners. So if you're going to start up a business, you've got an idea, you're thinking about a proposition for the future, who are your key partners? That's where you would typically annotate, and you'd put down all your stakeholders. Key activities next to it. What are you doing? What are you looking to do? What's going to be your main business trading? Trading information. What are your activities? Then beneath that, key resources. So again, this is something to think about. If you have ideas, if there's something that does interest you, have a look at this. But the more interesting part, just in the light blue, the royal blue, you're looking at your value proposition. So your value proposition is going to be your product. That's going to be what you're selling to the public, a service, a product, whatever it might be. On the right, that customer relations. So how are you going to manage your customer relationships? What are they going to be? Is it going to be B2B? Is it going to be B2C? Or business to business, business to consumer? Are you doing it? Then you look at your channels. Is that going to be physical? Again, it all comes down to what you're going to be providing. If it's going to be, it could be a massage service, could be a masseuse that needs to be physical. It could be online shopping, that could be e-commerce, so that's all online. You don't have to do it. You won't need a physical location for that. Customer segments. So within a customer segment, you look at your demographic. Which people are you targeting? So you got the likes of Gymshark, for example. They're looking for quite a young audience. Initially, it was quite sort of female dominated. Now it's just the younger people, gym fanatics, gym freaks, people of that nature. So really understand that. Again, take a screenshot, but all of this will be available online. And if I don't, I can send you a link. I can give it to Anna Bowers. You can forward it onto yourselves. And at the bottom there, cost structure and revenue streams. So again, it's a really good template to think, how can I implement customer discovery into my business, my project? And again, this is something that I would personally say you need to do every 3 months. It used to be a case of we do it every, just before the business starts, we'd take off, and from there onwards, we would never look at it again because the business is established. I think in this current climate, I think that needs to change. I think it needs to be a 3-monthly thing where you're constantly evolving, you're constantly changing. I just want to move on to the last sort of part of this about customer personas. So what is a customer persona? Again, it's a hot topic, it's a hot word everywhere within the industry. We're talking about customer personas, different types of market segmentation. What does this mean to yourself? So a customer persona is a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer based on market research and real data about your existing customers. So what does that mean to you? So it's knowing your customers. There's 10 questions there. And again, take a picture of this, take a screenshot if you need to. Who are they? What do they do? Why do they buy? When do they buy? How do they buy? How much money? What makes them feel good about buying? What do they expect of you? What do they think of you? And what do they think of your competitors? Now, can anyone think? Again, let's take 10, 15 seconds. Can anyone think about the persona for a company? So again, I mentioned Gymshark. We mentioned about their persona of customers. Is there any other ones that you can think of that stand out to yourself? Yeah, I'll have that talk with your clients, hoping you can obtain good ideas to apply in your business growth. Yeah, that's fine. I'd say Apple. I'm a big Apple fan, and I think a lot of their personas are going to be for people who are happy to pay extra, people who want the best of the best. Apple's always been market leading with innovation, but it has to look nice as well. It has to meet that criteria. And Apple and Samsung, precisely, yeah. So again, if you're looking to launch a business, what is the persona of the people you want coming to you? And the best companies are the ones who constantly research, they understand that. And I think Apple's one of the best. And the reason I say that is if you sign up for the Apple mailing list, what you will see is whenever they issue emails or notifications or mails, they always talk about the previous sort of market research they've had and how they've implemented that going forward. And with a massive company for Apple, there's going to be millions of customers, but they're very passionate about that because they want to make sure that their next product, whether it be a Mac or a MacBook or an iPad or an iPhone, they want to make sure that it meets the requirements going forward. And again, you can't always do that. I mean, there's only so much you can actually work on, but if you focus on the one or two big things that customers want from you, small steps do make a difference. So again, personas, it could help you design for behaviors, not demographics. And again, the reason for that little statement is a 25-year-old is different. Yeah, thank you. So just because now, demographics, that it's not the same as it used to be. A 25-year-old in London might be completely different to someone in Birmingham, someone in Scotland, someone in a different country altogether. Demographics now are not a true representation. Everyone's so different. Design for behavior, create a lens through which we can view products or services from the perspective of real people, build empathy for your customers, personify needs and requirements to better understand the context in which they exist, focus on where customers spend their time, speak their language, create persona-specific content and messaging. So again, a lot of information there, but ultimately it comes down to knowing your audience, targeting them, understanding where they're coming from, what they would require. And the better you can connect with your customers and their personas, then typically the more successful you would be. Yeah, Danny, love that statement there. Buyer persona plays a significant role in your marketing strategies. Of course it does. Yeah, of course it does. Brilliant. And then, just be careful not to fall into these traps. So that's, again, assuming that everyone wants to buy your product or service. That's not the case. It just doesn't work that way. Assuming that all your customers think and act the same. Assuming that your customers' behavior and opinions won't change. And assuming that your customers love your solution as much as you do. And believing that just because you can, you should. So again, I think we mentioned all of that. But there's a time and a place. The market, there needs to be a demand for the product or service within the market. And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, businesses, SMEs, call it what you want, we get really emotional and we're like, it's a great product and you want everyone else to love it as much as you do. That's not always the case. So it's just making sure we understand that and we look at ways in which we can be successful. And it's all about working smart. It's what's the easiest thing for you, for yourself. What's going to make the whole journey for you much more smooth. So actions. So, do you still need time to validate, explore further? What are the metrics you want to measure? And again, how are you going to validate these aspects? Now, this may not apply to yourself, just depend upon where you are right now. But in the future, if you were to finish your course and you're thinking about this, then again, these actions make a lot more sense at that point. Just going to have a look at that for you. So that's literally the vast majority of the presentation done. I think any questions? So I'm just going to stop screen sharing and I'll
Brilliant. Thank you
give it
so
back
much,
to yourselves
Bobby.
now. Any questions, anything you want to ask, by all means fire away. If you want any personal information or personal support on a one-to-one basis, I can give up my details and you can get in touch. And above over to yourself.
Yes, that was brilliant. Thank you so much, Bobby. Really informative, and I actually really liked the definition of pivot because I've not actually heard it like that before. A change in strategy without a change in vision. So that was great. If anyone has questions, please do ask away. We'll have 10-15 minutes where you can ask Bobby any questions. Or just give any comments that you have as well, and just open up the chat.
Well, my take is quite positive because I think everyone got all the information that they require. Yeah, that's how I'm thinking of it.
Exactly.
But again, if anything does come up a bit later, and you've got questions, then by all means you can get in touch with myself.
Brilliant. Yes. So I will be following up with everyone on this call with the recording, and then also the links. Oh yes. Is this a question? No. Or maybe just unmuted.
Yes, hi. My name is Hamid Ali. I have no question, but I just need to request, can I get a recording for today's workshop?
Yes, for sure. I will be sending that round later this week when it's available. Also with all the links and information that Bobby's covered as well. You mentioned that you can find the Business Builder online on the NatWest website. So I'll be sending that in an email.
Can I get in my personal email, or how I can get it? Sorry, I don't understand.
Yes, it'll be the email that you registered for this workshop with.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Hi, I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
Thank you. As Annabelle said, this was very informative. I'm so unfortunate that I joined a bit later, but I would like to give my heartfelt thank to Mr. Bubble. I just want to ask, the thing you told us today, is that you learn while you are working, or it's from the education that you learn? Because what we hear today is a theory, but when you want to apply practically, it just practically you learn, or it just you learn first and then you join your current working place?
Yeah, that's a really good question there, Shajia. With my job right now, we work with current entrepreneurs on a NatWest program. So at this very moment in time, we have 100 entrepreneurs on that program. It's called the Accelerator. These are for people who are existingly trading. They've established their business. They're looking to scale. They're looking to grow. And, a lot of them they've changed their business. They've had to pivot. There's numerous things that they've had to do. We have coaches assigned to them. So I think from memory, so far with this program over, a number of years, we've worked with approximately 3,500 entrepreneurs. So there's a huge amount of experience there. But then also within NatWest itself, it's one of it is the biggest bank for business in the UK. So we've got a really long-standing relationship with SMEs, entrepreneurs, where we help with lending, finance, expertise. Yes, good question there. So yes, the program is with NatWest, the Accelerator. So again, it's all available online. If you want, I can give something to Annabelle, which you could potentially just give it to yourselves. It's a free program. You don't pay for nothing. You don't even have to bank with NatWest. Same for the Business Builder. It's all available online. We always say, wherever you can get help and support, please have a look around. It's free. It's available to yourselves. All this content will be on there. And touch wood, I'd love to be able to come again in the future and help and support. It comes down to Annabelle if she wants me or not. I don't know. That's on Annabelle. I'm gonna put it there. That's in her court. But no, I'm more than happy to get involved.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, and we will look forward to that in future. If there is something, I don't know how to explain it, how to say it. If there's any bridge between GBS and NatWest, we'd love to participate on that and as well. And if there's an open day, we'd appreciate that. I'm sure Annabelle is going to do that one. Thank you.
Yeah, I've actually invited Annabelle to come to some of our discovery events. We have got that in place. We've got a networking event. We're based in Pigeon Park, which isn't too far from yourselves, where House Fraser is. That's the big enterprise hub, the big NatWest sign. By all means, you can come, you can get involved, you can see what people are doing. It's a free program. And I think at this very moment in time, a lot of people are thinking banks it's all about sales, loans, money, giving out finance. It's nothing to do with that. It's all about getting people involved, looking to encourage sort of business development, business growth, And there could be a number of yourselves once you finish this program with Annabelle where you may be thinking about maybe, starting your own business. And that's where we would love to be able to help you. I think there is a question. I think, is it Danny that's mentioning it in the chat?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh yeah. I was just wondering if I do want to proceed with my business, which I'm really passionate about. How do I go ahead with that? Can I book a meeting with yourself, or do I have to go through Annabelle? Or
Yeah, I mean, if Annabelle's happy with it, yeah, more than happy to have a chat with yourself. You can come to the hub. I can talk to you about the programs that we have in place. Again, I mean, the whole plan about this is just to make sure that any entrepreneurs, SMEs, people who want to start up just know what they need to do. We have a number of great tools, and they're all free. It's all free programs, free help and support. We can give you a one-to-one to direct you where you can go. And if we can't help you in NatWest, and we can't help everyone, unfortunately, we can refer you to like the local chambers of commerce, the local growth hubs, even Central Library. They've got a number of great programs there. So it's not just a case of, come to NatWest and we're going to help you and that's it. If we can't, we'll help you find someone that can assist you.
okay, because I do really want to make this business successful, and it's like obviously been a dream of mine.
No, fantastic. I mean, I will send Annabelle some details about the program. I'll send a couple of links on there. If you want to attend, by all means, come to the events. It talks a little bit about our programs, what it is. There's tea, coffee, some biscuits as well. Help yourself, and just see where it is, and we can organise a one-to-one on the back of it.
Okay, then thank you.
No worries.
Definitely. And just to add on to the back of that, yes, this is the plan going forward. It's great to have partners like NatWest, and I know that the program at GBS is still, it's really new, and we're kind of building it as we go. So I'm definitely going to link you to all of these great resources like Bobby has mentioned. So just look out for that email sometime this week. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Please feel free to just unmute and then ask away. No? Well, just before we close off then, I'm just going to pop a link for the feedback form into the chat, if you wouldn't mind filling that out, just to let us know how you found this workshop and things like that. But I will also put my contact details and everything in the chat as well, just before we close off. So yes, the first link there I put there is a feedback form. If you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes to fill that out as well. And then I put the entrepreneurship email address, but I will be emailing you later on this week with everything, all of the details that we've discussed today. So if no one has any more questions, then I think we'll bring this workshop to a close. And again, I'd love to thank our guest speaker, Bobby from NatWest. That was a brilliant workshop, really, really informative and insightful. And I look forward to working with you again in the very near future. So I'll be in touch again, Bobby, don't worry. But for now, I wish everyone a good afternoon, and we'll see you at the next one.